Hi, Samantha Ortlieb here, and I'm here today with Celine. She is my social media guru, also a really wonderful friend. And we're going to talk a little bit about the new energy that's come in through the three eclipse gateways. A lot of you have been asking me about it. I've been writing about it over the years, but it's really shifted through these gateways. And I also have new products that I launched, which was the Sorceress Elixir slash Sorcerer, yeah, and Celine's showing that. And there is a whole new energy that's come in, and this is the archetypal energy in the collective consciousness. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, and the fifth realm and where we're currently at, and how I can how I've found that the energy is very different. And I know, Celine, you were saying that, and how we can work with it to continue to evolve and be conscious and live a life of abundance and prosperity.
Sam, I would actually love to hear, for those of you who have never met you before, could you tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into some of the energies that you're going to explain to us?
Sure. Yeah, I always assume if people are on my Facebook page that they know. I've been a herbalist for about 17 years, and my specialty is psycho-spiritual plant medicine. And I'm very good at reading energy and knowing what's coming in through our collective evolution. And I channel that. I write a blog every month about it. I have a clinic in Cochrane, Alberta, and I see clients and help them navigate this new reality, whether it's physically, mentally, or emotionally, and of course, spiritually. So that is my specialty. Yes.
I love it. Thank you. So we were speaking about the Sorceress and how you have just recently launched that. Why the Sorceress? Can you tell us about like the archetype and why you saw that fitting into the current energies?
Yeah, well, the Sorceress slash Sorcerer, because we don't want to forget about the men out there, is that it's that archetypal energy where we are completely responsible for creating our own reality, right? So the Sorcerer, like, it's sort of we learn to weave our own creations in the world. We're completely responsible, and we work with spirit to help bring about that outcome. So really, it's listening to the ethers and working with what's in the ethers in a way that we never have before, and not being like, most of us are used to controlling things, right? We're used to pushing our agenda. We're used to trying to be very competitive and that type of thing. It's sort of the old masculine in our world. And we don't really listen or look at the feminine and how she can come in, and we can work with the energy and pull it in and receive it, instead of, that old masculine of push, push, push. So it's a very different kind of energy, and it's learning to balance the masculine and feminine in a way that we never have before. So that came in through these three eclipse gateways. And the Sorcerer is where we really start to work more with the divine feminine and our own soul path work in an even more conscious way. So that's the best way I can describe it. And people may be noticing, I don't know if you're noticing this, but that the energy now feels very different than what it did even a month ago. I don't know if you're feeling that.
So could you speak to that actually? So somebody maybe in their own thoughts, so they don't follow your blog posts, say, okay, some things are changing or externally. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, even if they weren't understanding what the Ascension process was, they would probably notice that there is, it's not as easy to get things to flow. And I know we're in retrogrades, and we have been in retrogrades in planet systems, so that type of thing, which makes wonky energy. But it's, we really have to master our thoughts. We really have to feel like we're fully in alignment with like the positive manifestations. We have to really have mind over matter, literally, and which is what a sorcerer does, right? If you watch that archetype in movies, that type of thing, they just innately know what to do, and they have these talents, and they end up being able to develop and direct the reality and shape the reality, right? It's at one step above what I call, say, a wizard, because wizards normally have to go to wizard school.
Mm.
This is where we're taking our own innate talents, who we really are, and discovering that more and more, and we're shedding all of the old, what we thought we should be, and figuring out who we really are, and therefore then how do we want to create our reality. And we are responsible for that, because again, many people may be noticing, those of you that do any kind of spiritual work, that type of thing, is that in the ethers, our guides, angels, whoever you talk to, really doesn't matter. They're taking a step back and saying, okay, you need to up the ante. You need to come up to our vibration a little bit higher. And that means working in the mind to create what you want. And there isn't really any room anymore for negative thoughts, for self-sabotage. We have to totally face our shadow, and then integrate that, which basically just means you see those parts of yourself you don't want to see, and you accept them, but then you don't let them control you. So that's the beauty of doing shadow work, which is what I do a lot with clients, so that they can then create their life very differently, and get it back in flow, right? That's the other thing people may be noticing. It's harder to kind of get things to move forward. And we have to take more responsibility and step in more with our talents and our sense of power, and the heart, and create what we want, more in alignment with listening to the divine. Because the divine may, by the way, tell you that you may want something, but it may say your service is needed here, right? So you have to listen to those two things and see what's going on. It doesn't mean you completely give up your destiny. You do create that. But you also have to listen to where Spirit's pushing you a little bit, right? To step up and step in. And it may be, I find generally, in places that you're very uncomfortable being in, right?
I think that's a clear sign to move forward in that direction, whereas we can be resistant to it. So that being said, what do you think some of the clients that you see and the people that you speak to, what are some common things that people are bumping up against? And I mean, how do you see that it's actually for their benefit? And how do you see that it's actually we must overcome that in order to get to that next level of living, of growth?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing I see with people, of course, these days is that needing more balance in their life. So we talk about balance and how to get more balance. And again, that's masculine and feminine principles, right? And in my book, I have a table that actually shows what the new masculine and feminine are going to look like. And in that, we have to balance out a lot of different types of value systems within ourselves. And so, for example, we used to dominate, denigrate the feminine quite a bit in our culture, and people are probably seeing that now that's pulling back, and there's a lot more respect and reciprocation, right? And that's where we're learning to balance those pieces out and equally value the masculine and the feminine. And that comes in many, many forms, right? I mean, you and I could talk for hours about that, but essentially in people, it means valuing the feminine side of themselves as much as valuing the masculine side of themselves, and healing those parts that have been buried or shunned or, it's sabotaged. So, for example, it would be in someone if they come in and they are very much all about work, 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 and they don't balance their life out. There's no beauty. There's no creativity. They haven't valued their feminine on those levels. I find that creates a host of problems in the body and in the psyche, in the mind. And so I work with them, and I use plant medicine mostly to do that. And it's all vibrational energy, because everything's energy. That's quantum physics. And what we're doing is we're trying to create a higher vibration. And so when you're breaking out of those lower types of thoughts and that duality, because you have to have balance, right? Oneness. And as we move up in oneness, we move up in vibration, we move up in happiness, we move up in, finding balance in our life and peace and love and all of that. And, that's not just spiritual woo, like it's true. And my clients see that as well as I do, as we work on releasing those blocks, right? I mean, you and I were just talking about that a little bit. before we hopped online,
Mm-hmm.
where you had seen a block, and we've talked about that, and I worked with you over time, and Celine's also in my Collective Soul Journey Box group, which there's a group of us that focus on bringing in these higher vibrations. That's right? Yeah.
So that's perfect, because I would love to know, how does the sorceress, for example, how does a sorceress, and you've just launched the 5th realm, how do those plant medicines help us get to that next phase of evolution?
Well, plant medicine, I mean, I have great respect for that. Anybody who has even remotely studied herbal medicine knows that plants have more than just a biochemical property to them. They're part of nature. They're part of oneness, right? They already know their purpose for being here, and they don't have all the hang-ups that we have, and they do know that they're in service, which is basically we're all here. We're all here to be in service to help each other, right? Become better human beings. And so they literally go, the vibrational quality as well as even the biochemical quality goes into the body. So the sorceress, the main herb in here is fennel, and it goes into the body and actually removes some of those very subconscious subtle blocks energetically, physically, emotionally, and mentally. So I find that they're a wonderful addition to working with me in session, because it's like taking a little therapist home with you, right? They go with you, and they continue to help raise that vibration and break down the subtle blocks that are underneath. And it's the same with the 16 realms, with the 5th realm. These ones I've channeled in a different way with a being that contacted me last year. And all of it's here to help us evolve to be a species that's more aware, accountable, and living more in harmony with each other and the earth. That's my purpose for being here. That's what my work is wrapped around. And it wasn't always so. I didn't always know that. And it's changed over the years, right? So, and I followed that, whether I liked it or not. That's where Spirit directed me.
I think you are such a perfect example of someone who was in a completely different world and followed those nudges, and I sense even within myself, when I take these products, I am so much more in tune with different energies, with where I'm meant to go, and I really see that these being helpful for anybody. And no, of course. And so you also launched the 5th realm. Could you speak about that and really the upcoming energies that the 5th realm product supports us in?
Yeah, I mean, the 5th realm, and along with the sorceress, we've kind of had to go up a notch, right? Like this again, these 3 gateways along with Mercury retrograde. It's like we had to leap in consciousness. It's like the energy, moved here, and it's trying to meet us in terms of a different level of consciousness in the way we live our life and the awareness. But instead of us sort of integrating in the usual way, it's been a very difficult integration process. I know a lot of people are having a lot of psychospiritual symptoms. I mean, and I've written about those in my Facebook and on my blog posts. And it's interesting, more and more people are waking up and seeing that, right? They're seeing and feeling these things and think they're going crazy. But then when they read something like my piece, or I know there's others out there writing about this, then they go, oh wait, I'm not going crazy. And my body's not completely rebelling on me, and I don't have some strange disease or whatever it is. I've had lots of people sit in front of me and I go, look, you're just clearing. And you're clearing in a way that if you're not more conscious about it, then it may harm your body. But you need to be more aware of this and conscious and work with it on a certain level, and maybe change your life around or whatever you need to do. Right down to clearing out your closet to help you release and move on to that next level of awareness in this ascension process, because things just keep speeding up, and people will notice we don't have a lot of reprieve the way we did starting back in 2012 when this really started, right, to come through. And I started noticing changes in my clients' bodies, and just everything down to DNA and the cellular level. Like I'm seeing all these things change, and it's how do we keep integrating these higher energies and consciousness without our body literally falling apart. because that's, and or our mind falling apart, or emotionally we can't cope. And that's the challenge of raising our consciousness very quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so with the fifth realm takes that to another level. To go back to your question, is that we have really got to this time adapt. There's a bigger adaptation process, because the frequencies were raised so much higher than before. And every time we have eclipses, that always, they're an accelerator. And that's what they do in these frequencies, which give us new coding, which gives us new consciousness, right? And we become more empowered and heart-centered, and we learn to be more responsible, right? And that's what you're seeing in the world. All the illusion is falling apart, and people are having to become more responsible, right? So the fifth realm is about adapting, and about focus, and really focusing on what you want, not focusing on what you don't want, focusing on what you want, and listening, and then making, acting when you need to, and then that will bring you a little more ease. So that's what this realm is about. And this realm of learning goes until about the end of September, and then when we get into October, we're going to start into the sixth realm. And it's fast. Like, what we're learning and how we're having to adapt is very quick, and I'm sure you're seeing that too, in how you're pulling in these everyday energies, right?
Yes, I mean, first of all, thoughts to reality are happening
Faster.
freakishly fast,
Yeah.
and it's even seeing everything through the lens of I am that. If I see something external and I'm listening to things, like, what part of me is in this person, what part of me is directly, like, whatever blocks I have within myself end up showing externally.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I think it does, like, the more I am taking these products too, the more responsibility I feel for my internal and external environment. And that is how I feel that I am a creator of my reality, co-creator of my reality.
Yeah, and I agree with you, the co-creator, because again, we're always listening. But yeah, and that's the thing, people would notice through this gateway that their thoughts to reality have sped up. And that's what a sorcerer does. Like, they completely, weave that reality very quickly, right? And we're having to really see that, and as you said, see the mirror in people. And I'm seeing it even more than before. Like, it's like it's more and more and more as you're talking to people. It's like looking in a mirror constantly, right?
Yeah.
And you're going either yay or oh.
Yeah, absolutely. Both ways.
Yeah, sometimes it's not that great. So, and we can't blame and shame. And so when you're in those higher vibrations, you can't blame and shame. And it doesn't mean you take all the responsibility. You see, though, it very clearly where you're not stepping in, right? And or letting go, and or whatever, much more quickly. And not everybody is using the energy well, and which is, again, why I do what I do, because I help people be accountable and really see what's happening and how they can use that to better their life and let go and move on, and have better relationships, right? Have better relationships, have better things happen to them in their life, to really live a life that has purpose and meaning, and that's in the end what all of us want, and as well as peace and having good, loving relationships, right? So
I mean that's at the end of the day, because I've shifted from being a complete workaholic to realizing really and creating my life inside of that. And I really do attribute a lot of that to getting the support from you inside of the Collective Soul Journey box. And so that I don't have to pick out, like, I don't know the upcoming energies. Like, I mean, you channel, you have a monthly Facebook group and a whole video, you have products delivered. I mean, could you speak to the Collective Soul Journey box and how that could support people?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because a lot of people think they have to be on some huge high, spiritual path to do it. I have a lot of clients in the group. We have about 35 people in that group.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you pay a monthly fee and you get a mystery box every month. So and a lot of my clients love that because they go, yay, what are we going to do this month, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I hop on at the beginning of the month and I talk about the energies of the month. I do a Facebook video, and I go through the products and say why we're using them and how they'll support you vibrationally and consciously and on all levels, psycho-spiritually. And it also creates, a community, because a lot of people are going through this ascension process, or raising their consciousness, and they feel very alone. And I think that's a big problem these days because of, and even through social media, but it just also people being afraid they're going to be censured or they're going to be called out on something. And sometimes people on Facebook are really nasty. And so this is a very safe group where we can express ourselves, and anyone can post, how they're feeling. And I post supportive things, and then they get their mystery box, and it just all around is, aside from also having my blog, it just gives them something to follow and be mindful and really support them right through the month, because people are struggling. And this has been we just came out of a particularly rough Mercury retrograde. I think for me it was one of the toughest. I had some big shadow come out for me around certain fears, and I had to really face that. And so working on some of it, and just I know I have most people, they just love the Collective Soul Journey Box group because it really does give them extra support beyond reading a blog, right? Or just being on a Facebook page like mine where I have posts, but it's just not as much. This takes the support to a whole other level times 10, right? So if people are interested in it, they can go to my website, and the Collective Soul Junior Box icon is there on the homepage, and they can take a look and see if it suits them. And then we have a closed Facebook group. Yeah, it's good.
I'll drop the link in the comments as well.
Yeah.
So we have just a few minutes left, Sam. I would love to know, what is it that you really want people to know about the Ascension process and the upcoming energies?
I think the most important thing is that this isn't going to end. It's an ongoing and will be an ongoing process long after I'm gone from this dimension. So it all depends on how you want to go and live your life, and as I've said to people before, do you want to live it deeply? Do you want to have a life of meaning and fellowship and community and really leave your karmic residue behind and weave your own reality, or as things go forward and the world seems more chaotic, are you going to succumb to that and feel lost and hopeless and cut off? And because really it's getting to that point that's literally the two choices we have.
Yes.
We can't kind of float in the middle anymore. People used to kind of just people are trying to check out, but because we're clearing and all of this stuff is coming up out of our cellular memory and our subconscious, which is here, and that's why a lot of people are hurting in here in the higher heart. You're going to find that either your health is going to continue to go down, or you're just going to be really confused and unhappy because things are going to continue the old systems to fall apart in the world. So you find a way to become conscious and find those that will support you, and don't try to bury your head in the sand, because it's just going to continue to push. The universe is going to push us, and these energies and the collective, we're just going to get pushed more and more, and the earth, she can't take anymore. The earth is tired, and she needs us to wake up and change things, right? And be accountable, and in whatever way that is for you, and whatever your gifts are and what you can offer the world. So yeah, that would be my best advice, is that this isn't going to go anywhere, meaning there's no end. So we need to step into it fully.
Beautiful. And I I also want to note that things are changing. It's obvious, whether it's politically, environmentally, socially, and at the end of the day, what we do have is our own innate understanding of our power, and then connecting and building a community with people who are on the same boat. So I think it's crucial. It's essential to have that support and to have that community as well. So thank you for being really a pioneer inside of this Ascension process, Sam. And we look forward to answering any questions anybody has, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah, thank you, Celine. I appreciate it. And yes, I mean, we can certainly get people if they have questions to ask below. And we'll do these from time to time. I think it's a great way to do it. And some people, because they like seeing videos better than they do reading blogs. So yes, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.